Hey, you guys. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new here. So the drama continues with Teen Mom stars Catelynn and Tyler and their biological daughter, Carly, her adoptive parents, Brandon and Teresa. And I always have to say this because if I don't, I get comments. But I refer to Brandon and Teresa as Carly's adoptive parents, and I refer to Catelynn and Tyler as her bio parents, just so there's never any confusion as to who is who. Someone may watch this video and may not know much of what the story is and may get it confused. It's not said to take away from the fact that Brandon and Teresa are Carly's parents. That is absolutely acknowledged. They are 100% her parents. It's only said so there's no confusion. So don't come at me in the chat because I am saying adoptive parents. It is not done with any disrespect. So, you guys, as y'all can see with this headline, it says Catelynn Lau and Tyler Baltiera slammed by adoptive daughter Carly's parents. They're out of control and inappropriate. The title's a little messed up because it should say Catelynn and Tyler slammed by biological daughter Carly's parents because they are. Anyways, hey Pearl. Hey, I love the name Pearl. That's such a pretty name. I wish I would have thought of it. So we're going to get into this. ENews also dropped a story as well that's very similar to this. It's pretty much the same story. So we're going to read this article really quickly. And I have a little interview that Catelynn did because tonight a new episode of Teen Mom comes on. Now, I probably will not be able to go live tomorrow because, like I said, I'm going out of town. So I doubt I'll be able to go live. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of talk about what's going to happen. Now, a trailer was released for tonight's episode, or not even a trailer, but a little glimpse into what we're going to see tonight, right? Well, what we're going to see is Catelynn allegedly getting a text message from Teresa, or maybe Dawn tells her this. In the article, it explains that basically Teresa is like, y'all are out of control, quit messaging us, leave us alone. Y'all are sending packages to our house for Carly. It's inappropriate. We're done. So it's definitely I hate that I'm not going to be able to go live tomorrow because if I could, what I would do is obviously watch the episode tonight, and then screen record bits and pieces of it and then play it tomorrow and we could discuss it. But I'm not going to be able to do that. So let's go ahead, let's read this. Let me make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it. All right, so Catelynn and Tyler are not currently in communication with Brandon and Teresa. Hey, you guys see those flowers down there? Those are literally the most beautiful flowers you can ever have. Brandon and Teresa finally made their intentions with Teen Mom, the next chapter stars Catelynn and Tyler, known. And it's evident they want no relationship going forward. In a trailer for the February 6th episode of the long-running MTV show, Catelynn reads aloud a text from Teresa, her daughter Carly's adoptive mother. And this is what Teresa says. The way you speak about us online was very hurtful, so we're not going to be responding. Okay, I'm reading into this a lot because I'm like, so it's not Carly's decision? Am I the only one that thought that when you read that? Because this whole time, I'm not a parent. I'm just, someone that's watched the show from day one. And I've been like, maybe it's Carly. Like, maybe Carly wants to shut off communication. Maybe she's embarrassed. Maybe it's too hard for her. Like, maybe it's Carly. But when I read this, Teresa saying, the way you speak about us online is hurtful, so we're not going to be responding. Does that mean that it's their decision because they're upset with how Catelynn and Tyler speak about them online? And if that is the case, is that fair? I don't know. I'm very, because I'm like, Carly should have every option in the world. If she's struggling with it, if she doesn't want to communicate with them, I definitely think she should be able to say, I don't want to communicate with them. And they could cut that off. Oh, that's okay, Lulu. Lulu says they might not even want to say it's Carly, in case she doesn't want to reach out later. What? Okay, Lulu says, I don't read it that way at all. She said it's very hurtful. She could be meaning we as in Carly. Yeah, the us could mean the way you speak about us. Me, Brandon, and Carly is hurtful. So we're not going to be moving forward. Which I don't know if they've said anything that, I don't know. It's just so many uncertainties with this, It's so, okay. After reading the text, Catelynn shows her husband tons of updates that she has been sending to Teresa with no responses. Tyler goes on to point out that some of them haven't even been delivered, leading both of them to realize Teresa blocked Catelynn's phone number. Although Teresa promised the reality stars that they would be allowed to have occasional updates on their daughter and send birthday gifts during the adoption process, it's clear that is no longer what she wants. In the episode, a text to Dawn Baker, the adoption counselor who coordinated Carly being given to Brandon and Teresa, is also shared. In that message, also from Teresa, she said she does not want Tyler or Catelynn sending anything else to our house. It is so out of control and inappropriate. As OK previously reported, Catelynn has been talking extensively about Carly lately, as she has been shut out from having any contact with her. I would make different decisions with my choice, Catelynn boldly stated, revealing Brandon and Teresa would not have been who she would have placed Carly with if she could go back in time. Aside from the fact that she would want a couple more local to where she resides, Catelynn explained that Brandon and Teresa initially wanted a closed adoption, and this should have disqualified them from being chosen in the first place. They did eventually agree to an open adoption, but with the caveat that they could change it to a closed adoption anytime. In an interview with ENews, Catelynn had more to say regarding where things stand. She said, I'm still blocked. They definitely have 100% closed the adoption. She went on to explain if it's Carly who doesn't want to have contact with her birth parents, she would understand that. But if that's not the case, she has to keep fighting for communication. And we do have, let's see, that clip with, I think this is ENews maybe. I posted this on my Facebook page. If you don't follow me over on Facebook, Elle Bee, follow me. I post clips of interviews with, the anybody we follow. If they do an interview and I come across it, I'll post it over on my page and I'll give context as to what the interview is about. I post before I go live. I try to post as much as I can in regards to reality TV news, celebrity gossip, entertainment news. My husband has started helping me post as well. So if you follow me on Facebook and you see some posts that it's like, that don't look like Elle wrote it, my husband may have helped me on that one. So he has started helping me make posts so I can keep y'all up to date on everything going on. But here is the interview that she did with, I think this is Us Weekly.
Having to, watch it back, relive it, go through it. Can you give a kind of a status update of where things stand with her adoptive parents?
It's still the same.
Still the same.
Yeah. There is no communication. They basically have closed the adoption on us. And so that's hard. And I've kind of just jumped into this new place with my adoption to where now I'm speaking to lots of adoptees and I'm learning like what would have helped them, what would have benefited them. And also I still put things out there because I want Carly to know that I got, like, if she's the one that still wants contact and it's not happening, I will fight for that till the day I die, or until they say, or until she tells me, it's too hard for me to have contact. But until that day, I want her to know that I'm always here and always willing to do whatever I can.
Yeah. Are you still blocked?
Oh yeah, I'm still blocked and everything. Yeah.
Are you still trying to send gifts and things like that?
No, they told me I'm not allowed to send gifts anymore.
It's gotta be so heartbreaking.
It is, but we've created an email and we have written emails to her. Okay. So eventually we can give this to her.
Yeah. I do think that's smart. And I actually said that a while back, like, well, maybe they could make an email. And send pictures to the email, write letters to the email. That way, if she ever does contact them, they can say, this is us over the years. You know, when we were told that we couldn't reach out to you no more, this is us, you know, emailing and still trying to have that communication with you. This is us, you know, years ago, you know, just doing our best. I don't, you know, we didn't just give up on you, because even though we didn't have communication with you 5 years ago, these are emails we're sending you. 4 years ago, we still had you at the forefront of our brain, and you were still a part of, you know, we still cared a lot about you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've asked the question to her parents, is it Carly not wanting content? Is it too hard for her? Because if so, I can understand, you know, and totally okay with that. And I can respect that.
Sure.
She's my child. But if it's not her, she deserves to know the truth.
Yeah.
And so I will keep speaking about it, and I will keep writing her emails to give to her when she's older. And so that way, when she's older, she has the full scope of everything.
When is the last time that you saw or spoke to her?
The last time I saw Carly was like 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, it is.
Can things change when she's 18? Can she, you know, obviously she's then a legal adult. She can probably reach out. Is that what you're hoping for?
I mean, at 18, yes, adoptees. I mean, obviously you can reach out and communicate with whoever you want to, because you're an adult.
Right.
But also with adoption, the magic number is not 18. Some adoptees don't get out of the fog until they're in their 30s, or, you know, so like 18, I know like 18s, I try to remind myself that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it might not happen when she's 18. It might happen when she's 35, 40, whenever that is, I'm here for it. And even if it never happens, I can understand, and I'm here for that too.
Yeah.
So
I hope you get.
Honestly, that's a good comment. And I've never even thought about that, Anna. I've never even thought about that, because I've always been like, you know, if it is Carly, like they should just tell them, because I don't think Catelynn and Tyler would care, because Catelynn and Tyler are very much like, this is our opinion. Y'all can have y'all's. We're not upset about it. If it's her, we would rather know that it's her, so we know that this is her opinion and we'll respect that. But to be quite honest, even if they respected it, even if, you know, they didn't get mad at her or whatever, the whole world would know, you know, because Catelynn and Tyler would put it out there. Catelynn and Tyler would say, Carly made the decision that she wants nothing to do with us. And then she would have millions of people judging her based off that. Probably mad, you know, some people saying, oh, I don't blame you, you know, cut them off, blah, blah, blah. And then some people saying, how dare you? You know, how dare you cut these people, you know? So that's honestly smart, that even if it's Carly, to not tell anybody. And Brandon and Teresa, you know, they're taking the blame for this, even if it's Carly or if it's not. And if it is Carly and they're not saying, and they're taking the blame for this, that just goes to show how much they want to protect her, you know? And okay, I saw a comment, but I'm going to explain this. How rude of Kate to say Carly is in a fog. There is something called adoptee fog. It is like a known thing. I didn't know about it either until Tyler and Kate started talking about it. And then I looked into it. We're going to go over that in just a minute.
Not closure. I hope you get peace in the answers that you are so desperately wanting. And I feel like you deserve.
Thanks.
Yeah. Because that's got to be really, really hard as a mom.
It's very hard. At the end of the day, I really just want whatever she wants, and whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
For Carly. That's all that I want.
Is it hard explaining it to your other children? Or
it's very hard explaining it to my other children, and that's where it really affects me and gets hard. They're still young. They don't understand. Like Nova's response was, well, that's dumb. We should get to see her and talk to her.
Right.
You know, like she's still little. So that is hard. And you know, I have a lot of like anger about it, but I know underneath that is sadness and hurt. So it's hard. And I think I hold on to a little bit of anger of when they did this and blocked me and everything, it threw me into a huge PTSD loop where I thought I was healed. And then I realized that I don't think this is something I will ever heal from.
Yeah.
You might work on it and get tools, but that is like a pain and a sorrow that a mom carries with them for the rest of their lives. And that's hard.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Anyone else notice how uncomfortable Macy was? Her reaction to Kate talking. Macy, and this interview is, well, I've watched 2 interviews of them in the same setting with 2 different women. And Macy was like that the whole time. Like, even when they were talking to her, she was like, and then when camera would get on her and she'd be like, she'd raise up. I don't know what the deal is, but she definitely looked uncomfortable. I don't know what the deal was. But I also noticed right there at the end, Leah like quickly put her hand like on Kate's arm as like a way of show like affection, to be like, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was sweet. But there is something called the adoptee fog, and I looked it up a while back because Caitlin was talking about it, and I was like, what does this mean? And I'll read it to you guys. Adoption fog is a term used to describe the feelings of adoptees who are in denial, conditioned, or ignorant about their adoption. It can also refer to the loss of family and genealogical history that adoptees experience. Adoptees may feel lost, alone, angry, fearful, or overwhelmed with shame. They may feel a sense of bewilderment or unhappiness that they've had since childhood. They may feel a sense of obligation or guilt. So I've actually heard some of this and I've seen it myself. Hey, Annie. Annie's at first time in the live chat. Hey. So when a child is adopted, they are the adoptee. And if they are going through the adoptee fog, like they may have a desire to know their real parents, but they're scared to tell their, the only parents they've ever known, their adoptive parents, because they're scared that it may upset them. They're scared that they may be offended, so they don't ever say anything. But the whole time they're dealing with this internally of, I want to know who my parents are. I would like to ask questions about my biological parents. I want to know where I come from. I want to know who these people were and why they put me up and where did that come from. But they never say anything because they're dealing with this adoptee fog that gives them this sense of, they're scared. They're scared of how their parents will react to this. And my aunt was kind of like that. She wasn't legally adopted, but she was raised by her stepdad for many, 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 many years. And her biological dad was a mean man to my grandmother. So when she started talking to her sister on her dad's side, she didn't tell anybody for a while. And then she ended up like meeting her dad and she didn't want to tell anybody, but she didn't want to tell my grandmother and the only dad she's ever known, because she was scared that it would be, she was just scared that it would hurt their feelings, so she didn't want to tell anybody. Well, the fog isn't due to anybody. So the fog isn't brought on by Kate and Tyler or Brandon and Teresa. It's just something that adoptees deal with. It's brought on by the circumstance of they were born to these two people, but were given to these two people. And, and especially adoptees that are in closed adoptions. They seem to deal with it obviously more because they're in closed adoptions and they don't know where they come from and they're scared to ask questions. So now, like the article said, Catelynn had talked not too long ago about saying if she could go back and choose different parents for Carly, she would. That, one reason was due to the fact that they live out of state. She would have chose adoptive parents that were closer to them, that lived in the state that they live in. And she said also she would have chose parents that wanted an open adoption, because from jump, Brandon and Teresa wanted a closed adoption. It was only, after Kate and Tyler was like, no, we want semi-open. And they were like, okay, I guess we'll do semi-open. And then Kate and Tyler was like, never mind, we won't open. And they were like, okay, we'll do open. But then in that contract, it said that they could close it, it would be at their discretion or whatever. So Catelynn said in one of the interviews that if she could choose different parents, she would. She gave those reasons. She got a lot of heat for that. She got a lot of backlash. I think I even did a video on it, which I was sure to explain what her reasonings behind it was. And I can understand that. I can understand, like, if you put your child over adoption 16 years later, you may have some regrets. You may still be like, I'm glad she's got great parents. I think the parents are great. But dang, if I could go back, I would have made sure that it would have been parents that wanted an open adoption too, and really wanted it. Didn't say okay just to pacify us, but really wanted it. And I would have chose parents that were in the same state we were, so we could have, we could see them more, whatever. But a lot of people talked about that. I talked about that, and then Kate actually she kind of walked back on what she said after everybody started talking about it. Because in the interview, somebody when she was interviewed, they said, "Well, do you regret putting Carly up for adoption?" And she said, "Well, no, I still don't regret putting her up for adoption because me and Tyler had our trauma that we were dealing with. Like if we would have kept her, she would have went through the first few years of her life, like seeing us deal with our trauma. So I still don't regret putting her up for adoption. I just wish we would have placed her with someone, in the same state and a couple that wanted open adoption." So, however, after that, this came out. She said, "I want to make something very clear. In the interview I did recently and said I would pick different parents, I mean, I would have picked us. I wish that I could have made a different choice and we could be her parents. Not that I would have picked a different set of adoptive parents. I should have clarified in the interview I did," which is kind of, that's not what she said in the interview. Literally in the interview, she said, "If I could pick different parents, I would. These are the reasons why." They said, "Do you regret putting her up for adoption? If you could go back, would you still put her up for adoption?" And she said, "No, I still would, because in those years, me and Tyler were both dealing with a lot of trauma, and I would not want her subjected to that. So I would still, I don't regret putting her up for adoption because thankfully she didn't have to grow up the first few years of her life in, a household where she was subjected to all those things or whatever." So I'm like, I wonder if she understands that everything she said in that article is still up. Like people could still find that she never said, "Oh, I would pick different parents because I would pick us." She didn't say that, but whatever. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she's just like, "I should have said that." So I'm going to say that's what I meant. And then Tyler also made a post. Bear with me. And this is Tyler's post. All right. So Tyler said, and this is after they're getting a lot of backlash for speaking out recently and Kate making that comment. It says, "Dear everyone who equates us sharing our adoption story as bashing Carly's parents. If a person expresses factual truth and the truth is perceived as bashing, cruel, slander, negative, etc., then is the person who delivers that truth wrong or cruel? Or are the facts of that truth wrong or cruel? If people are so uncomfortable with the facts regarding that truth, then they should reevaluate the morality of that truth instead of condemning and pointing fingers at the ones who just so happen to be delivering that truth. If you possess critical thinking skills, this should make sense to you." I get exactly what he's saying. I mean, I know what he's saying. He's saying, listen, our story may seem cruel, it may seem crazy, it may seem wrong, but it's our story, and us sharing our story does not mean we're cruel, we're wrong, not mean we're all those things. But we should still be able to share our story. So that's, what it sounds like he's saying. What do you guys think about this? So that's kind of the update. This airs tonight, a new episode of Teen Mom. We're going to see Dawn on the episode. We're going to see Kate and Tyler talking to Dawn about being cut off from Brandon and Teresa. We're going to see Kate tell Tyler what Teresa had to say, that Teresa said that you guys bashed us online. We're not happy about it. We don't wish to go any further with you guys. Also see them realize that they have been blocked for a little while, despite Catelynn continuing to send messages, her not realizing that they were already blocked. So that's going to come on tonight. I think it comes on at about 8 p.m. tonight. So, unfortunately, like I said, I'm not going to be able to go live tomorrow. I may be able to go live Monday and talk about this, but JC says people are so rude. People can be rude. Okay, yes. Colby says taping is at 8. Did Dawn ever tell them they could be cut off like this at any time? So according to Catelynn and Tyler, no. According to Catelynn and Tyler, Dawn and Brandon and Teresa never gave them any idea to think that they would be cut off ever. Catelynn and Tyler Specifically, Tyler has done several IG lives where he said, like their communal, their conversation, I don't know where that word came from. Their conversation this whole time, every time they met, every time they hung out, was open adoption. Oh, we can't wait to do this. He said, at the first year meeting that, they would say like, oh, can't wait till next year. And, at the 3-year meeting, they would talk about just imagine when she's 15, if she's going to look like this, So he said, no, they never said anything. He said that's why, like, they didn't really sign. That's why they didn't really read the contract they signed, because they thought what was in that paperwork was going to be what they always talked about. The very first meeting, Catelynn and Tyler with Dawn, the very first meeting, Dawn said, this is your adoption. You are in the driver's seat of this adoption. It will go the way you want it to go. And she said, well, this is how I want it to go. Catelynn said, this is how I want it to go. I want to be able to call her. I want to be able to send her gifts. I want to be able to send her a card for her birthday, gifts for her birthday, pictures. I want to get pictures of her. I want to be able to see, so she is very vocal about what she wanted. Now, the thing where I think the mistake number one came in is Dawn should have been upfront and said, listen, the way adoption works is you're going to sign your rights away. And then Brandon and Teresa are going to come in and they are going to sign as her guardian, as her legal parents. Once that happens, you have absolutely no rights at all. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that it's under the umbrella of an adoption, even an open adoption. Doesn't matter. Once that paperwork is signed and you relinquish your rights and they become her legal parents, they could walk out of that courtroom and leave and never say another word to you. That is the reality of the situation. I think it should have been explained to them. So I think that was the mistake, is that Dawn made them think that because they wanted an open adoption, that could be had. And these were two 16-year-olds, and that's what they believed. I think the second mistake was when Dawn gave them profiles of couples. She gave them Brandon and Teresa's profile, a couple that wanted a closed adoption, a couple that had been trying to adopt for a couple of years, but had not been able to, get a child yet due to wanting to close adoption. She should have never sent any profiles of any people that wanted a closed adoption. Any profiles that she sent should have been of couples that wanted a semi or an open adoption. Because at this point, Catelynn and Tyler wanted a semi-open adoption. They didn't change it until after they had Carly. After they had her, they said, you know what, we want to do an open adoption. The difference between semi and open, semi is you can send pictures and letters, but you don't see each other. Open adoption is you do, letters, pictures, you can do phone calls, and you have a yearly visit. So I think, that's where the mistakes were made. I think Brandon and Teresa, they wanted that closed adoption because, that is what they wanted. That wasn't a secret. They wanted a closed adoption. But when they met Catelynn and Tyler, and Dawn was like, they want a semi-open. Okay, I guess we'll do it. Then after they had Carly, they contacted Dawn and they said, we want to change it to an open adoption. Can you let Brandon and Teresa know? And she said, yes. She contacted them, got back in touch with Brandon, got back in touch with Tyler and Catelynn, and she said they are okay with that. Unfortunately, they were 16, 17 years old. When they went in and signed the paperwork, they did not read it because Tyler said, we thought the paperwork would reflect what we had said. Like, we thought the paperwork would reflect that it would be an open adoption and that we would do yearly visits and we could do, which it kind of did. It kind of reflected that. The one thing that I think was in there that they weren't expecting is that once she turned the age of 5, they could cut it off completely. They could completely close the adoption. I don't think they ever knew that was in there, and they didn't read it, unfortunately. So this is a huge lesson. I hope they're teaching their kids this. I hope Catelynn and Tyler are telling their kids, you read everything you sign. Because if you don't, you end up in a situation like this. But they're still very close to Dawn. And I'm like, if anybody screwed you over, in my opinion, it is Dawn. That's who I think screwed them over, because she was never upfront with them. She was never honest with them about the situation. Now, they had Carly, and because they were minors, they needed April, Kate's mom, to sign off on the adoption so they could hand Carly over to Brandon and Teresa. But April was not there. Well, April refused to sign the paperwork. So they had to leave the hospital and walk across the street, where they gave Carly to Brandon and Teresa. Brandon and Teresa had to stay in Michigan for 30 days because Catelynn and Tyler, I guess they have 30 days to maybe change their mind. And then after that 30 days, they all go to court where they will make this legal. So everybody that's like, it's not a legal adoption, it's not a legal adoption. Well, because they did go to court and they did it that way, it is legal. If they just would have went through Dawn and signed that janky contract that literally says on the bottom, this is not a legally binding contract, then yes, it wouldn't have been legal. But they, after the 30 days, they did go to court and they relinquished their rights. And they had a guardian ad litem. They showed up there that day for court and was there on their behalf. However, that guardian ad litem was there that day. This was not somebody that talked to them all throughout the process and said, this is what we know of the situation. Are we wrong? Should we know anything else? It was the guardian ad litem that was there that day, got thrown in the mix to stand in to represent them. April and Butch were there, and April and Butch actually tried to stop the adoption. They actually tried to, they wanted to take Carly. When the judge asked, like, if, anybody disagrees with the adoption, or what, it's not disagrees. Thinking of a wedding. Does anyone object? Judge, does anyone object to this? Butch stood up and said, yes, we do. That's our grandbaby, and we would like our grandbaby if our kids don't want to raise her. And the judge was like, no. No. And obviously the judge signed off on everything. And after that, they went their separate ways. And they had, they had visits. It was, I think they said it was the 4-year visit where things started getting a little, I think it was a 4-year visit. It was either 4 or the 5-year visit that Teresa was going to skip and wasn't really talking to them and wasn't letting them know what was going on. So that's when it kind of started, 4 or 5-year visit. Who else ever heard of handing your baby off in a parking lot? Yeah. That's weird. So I do think that they were taken advantage of. I do think Catelynn and Tyler were taken advantage of. How they were kids. However, they're not kids no more. And Carly is the kid. She is the 16-year-old who could be hurt by everything that's going on. Because I'm one of those people I believe everyone has a right to tell your story. Everyone has a right to share their story, unless it is hurting your children, unless it causes your children mental anguish. In that case, if I wanted to get on here and tell you guys about something going on in my life, but I knew it would upset my child, then I'm not going to do it. I don't care how bad I want to. I'm not going to do it. And so that's where, while I think Catelynn and Tyler were taken advantage of, and that sucks, I'm also like, you are, in my opinion, I feel like you are putting your own feelings above Carly's, and you're not thinking about how you guys continue to speak out, how this is probably affecting her. And which sucks. Wasn't it right around the time that Nova was born? I'm not sure. Miss Maverick says, Heather, as an adoptive mama, I would always give a reason if I ever felt the need to cut off biofam. Didn't they say they are so speak out so Carly will know they've tried? Yes. They said they continue to speak out because Brandon and Teresa has never given them like an actual reason for why they're cutting them off. They've never said, listen, this is why. And, there's been so many questions of why. Even when Tyler did his IG Live, someone said, well, maybe it's your OnlyFans. And he said, well, first off, this started way before my OnlyFans. They've literally been doing this since, for years. They've been skipping visits and not communicating with us. And, but he said, if it was my OnlyFans, tell me. I'll stop it today. And I'm like, but it's already there. And any embarrassment that it caused her, it already did. So yeah, you cut it off, but it's already out there. And but yeah, he said they don't, they don't know what it is. They don't know why. Um, but yeah, I do struggle because I'm like, I think everybody has a right to share their story. They were two 16-year-olds that went through adoption, probably pressured by production, and then, had their parents saying, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But nobody in their right mind would listen to these two parents. But production wanting them to do it because they were going to be the adoption story. And then they didn't have good guidance from their parents. So, they do have a unique story, but without like the okay from Carly to talk about this, I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like you are possibly really shooting yourself in the foot. Like Carly, but I don't know, you guys. I'm not adopted, so I really can't. I don't know. But I've seen adoptees say, all I ever wanted was to know that my parents loved me, my bio parents. For years, I wondered, like, if I would have loved to have parents like Catelynn and Tyler that, would have did anything to make sure I knew. Because for years, I wondered. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I have also seen comments of people saying, if my bio parents continue to talk about my story and talk about my parents in a negative light, the only parents I've ever known, I would never have anything else to do with them. So it's like you really just don't know how she feels. You just really don't know how Carly feels. And then some people say, wait till she's 18. And then this one person posted on Tyler's live stream where she said, I put my child up for adoption, was going to wait till he was 18, was told, wait till he's 18, was going to do that. And then he got killed in a car wreck at 17. And I live with that regret every day. And Tyler was like, that's, what people don't understand is, it's not, tomorrow's not promised. So we want to make sure like she knows this. But, and even at 18, she may not reach out, even if she wants to, because she may feel a sense of loyalty to Brandon and Teresa. She may be worried that it'll hurt them. So she may not reach out then either. But I am just like, one day, I think, we'll know. Whether it be Carly being 20 years old, finally saying, you know what, this was my decision. As a child, I did not want my parents to put it out on me because I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I didn't want anybody to be mad at me. So they took the heat for that and they got attacked on social media for that. Or, no, I did not know this was going on or whatever, whatever. I think one day we'll know. It's just kind of, as people that watch this story, because I'm like, man, I wish I knew, but nobody owes us anything, you know? But it's me. Angie says, I wonder if Carly even knows any of this is going on. So a part of me would want to be like, she has to know, right? And that's what I used to think. She has to know. There's no way she don't know. But then Tyler was saying, like, she goes to a private school. They don't think she has a cell phone. And she's like, they keep her really sheltered. So much so that they was like, she knows that her birth was filmed, but we don't even think she knows that, like, what's going on with the show. That, like, yes, we were on a show when she was born, but we don't even know if she knows that, like, we continue to do TV and this is a big thing. Like, we don't even know because according to what Catelynn and Tyler have said, they do keep her pretty sheltered. So I don't know. I'm sure her friends would. Surely she would have to know. I would have to imagine. I don't know how she wouldn't know. Look at Leah. She's fed up of anger about, yeah. Totally agree with your assessment. They're hurting Carly only 3 years and they can't control themselves 15 years. They've done nothing. Yeah, no. I know. Yep. Kathy says, I think Carly is the one not wanting contact and being a good parent. BNT are taking the backlash for it. Yeah, I believe even if she's been sheltered, surely she would have to know, right? I don't know if Carly has an IG. I've never seen Carly on social media. I almost feel like CNT let their pride take over. They could have just stayed quiet if that's what it took to keep the relationship. Yeah. When it comes down to Carly, when it all comes down to is Carly is B&T's daughter, they get to choose who they want in her life. CNT do not get to have that. That's true. That's true. If they had at least talked to them, I think a lot of this would be different. My stepdad is my dad. My bio dad's family always trashed him, my mom's family, and it hurt. It ruined my relationship with that side. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people say that. Do Brandon and Teresa have an open adoption with their son? So, yes. Well, I just know, sorry guys, I'm getting a headache. This is what I know about the son situation. This girl was someone that Catelynn knew. And because things at the time were going good with Catelynn and Tyler and Brandon and Teresa, this girl got pregnant and didn't know if she wanted to keep the baby. So Catelynn introduced her to Brandon and Teresa and Dawn. And she decided she would put her baby up for adoption. Brandon and Teresa decided they wanted to adopt the child, and that's what happened. I did hear one time that they didn't have anything to, there was no communication with her, but then Tyler said on his live that they do, and this was in September. Back in September, Tyler did several live streams on Instagram. I have them on my page if you want to check them out. But he said, they do have a relationship with their son's mom, so why not us? So. But anyways, oh, thank you, Autism Mama. Thank you so much. Oh, I love your profile picture. I have an Aspie. So, well, guess what? Then it's Kate and Ty's behavior. The son's parents still talk to her. They're so clueless. Seems like Caitlin and Tyler did stay quiet for a long time until relationship got so strained. Sadly, they are a billboard advocating for closed adoption. Enjoy your intelligent content. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Enjoy. I read that wrong. Enjoy your intelligent content. Enjoy your intelligent content so much. Their son's mom probably respects boundaries, like Caitlin Tyler. Now, it says probably because their parents don't try to put everything out for the public to see. And that's where I'm like, I get it. That's y'all's lives, Caitlin and Tyler. Like, y'all have been on TV since you were 16 and you don't know anything different. But I'm like, everything don't have to be out there, especially if you think it's going to harm your relationship with your biological daughter's parents. Like, if you think, like, I don't know. And I'm always like that. I'm like, if I do this, is it going to embarrass my kids? If I do this, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't even have any kids out there being raised by anybody else. But I'm still like, if something might embarrass my kids, I'm like, not doing it. No, if something might upset them. Does anyone know who B and T's son's mom is? Nope, exactly. Amber says, I love that. I'm also an autism mom. Aren't they literally like the coolest? My son's personality is literally the coolest. CNT have to realize they are flogging a dead horse here. They need to focus this energy into making sure others in the situation don't find themselves in the same situation. Yes. And they are, they're coming out with a podcast. And Catelynn did say in the interview that that's what the podcast is going to be about. They're going to bring adoptees on. They're going to try to educate people on what adoption is, to talk about the things that they were not told when they were 16. So if you're going to make the decision to put your child up for adoption, you know everything they didn't know, that they weren't told. But the adoptive parents made a promise to allow them to send gifts to Carly, then later said, stop, that's mean. If you want to make changes, sit them down and discuss it like adults. I do agree with like a discussion. I am very much one of those people. Like if you upset me, I'm not going to just cut you off. I'll be like, I need to tell you something, like I need to talk to you. So I do agree that like maybe a phone call, a Zoom meeting saying, listen, we're hurt. this is what you did. And we just feel like we want to end the relationship because we are so offended. But this is what you did. This is why. Rather than just, leaving them to guess and not, not be sure. So I do feel like a conversation is always the best route to take, but maybe they was scared if we get on a phone call, are they going to record it and air it on Team Mom? If we try to do a Zoom call, are they going to have cameras there recording? I don't know. I rewatched the season, and Teresa said C&T could still talk about the adoption. She just didn't want their combos relayed in full. Well, I always felt like, that was their story is, adoption. So it's kind of weird for them not. They're going to be asked to talk about it. Production's going to ask them to talk about it. So, yeah, I think Brandon and Teresa cut off was Tyler and Kate for 3 and 4 hours late to meet Carly when they should have been something that was addressed immediately. Maybe so. Anyways, you guys, that's what's going on with them. It just they're cut off. They told them don't send gifts. They are saying, this they told Dawn they are out of control, talking about us publicly. We don't like it. We want nothing to do with them. We don't want them to send gifts. We're done. So, how about educating teens on not having unprotected sex at 16 and having babies when they can't even take care of themselves? Not their business why the parents do not want to see them. I'm not adoptive, so I have no foot in the race. I know C&T wants to see Carly and spend time with her, and B&T wants to protect Carly. But at the end of the day, it's Carly's choice. B&T has said the reason why they stopped contact is because what B&T put out online, then about them texting every other week, it's a bit excessive. Right, Lulu. Me too. Oh, I don't hate Caitlin and Tyler. Do you feel like I do, or you just feel like the chat does? I feel like the chat may like them, but I feel like they're just thinking about Carly more because that's kind of where I am. Because I'm like, I'm just thinking about how it affects her. If the slight chance that it upsets her, then if it was me, I just wouldn't do it at the off chance that it upsets her. I'll be up in a second, buddy. Okay. I hate that you feel that way, but I can understand because people, when it comes to kids, people are very much like, we can be a little, If it weren't for Tyler and Kate, they would be no Carly. No one hates Caitlin and Tyler. They just want Caitlin and Tyler to come to realization that they are not the ones in charge. My ex-husband was adopted. We didn't look for his family until we had our own kid. The closer we got to the birth family, the more upset it made the adopted family. Man. Oh, Rachel said, no, I don't like them. Well, I'm glad, if you don't, say it. It's fine. Amber says, I love them. I just understand both sides. I pray Carly isn't affected by Caitlin and Tyler always discussing their life or her life. Having kids at 16 should not be glamorized, especially 16 years later. No wonder those kids are all screwed up. C&T have navigated this difficult situation better than B&T. Bummer. We'll never know if what Carly thinks for a couple of years if she even decides to speak out. I don't hate them. I'm just thinking they're making a lot of mistakes. I think that they don't want Carly to feel like they didn't try. I do feel like that. Gary Shirley didn't meet his real dad until he was in his 30s. Anyways, you guys, leave me your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm definitely going to watch the episode. I may post about it on my Facebook page, but unfortunately won't be able to go live tomorrow. But yeah, I hope everybody has a great weekend. I was going to do the Twitch video, but I've got so much to do to get ready for our little trip. I've got to pack. I've got a very important phone call to make in a little bit. I'll share it with you guys next week. A big phone call. Was Gary Shirley adopted? Yes, Gary Shirley actually found out on the show that his dad was not his dad. I think his mom told him. Or him and his dad went and had a DNA test because his mom told him it was a possibility that this man wasn't his dad. I don't remember. It's been a minute. But yeah, DNA test was done online. But yeah, got to get ready for the trip. I hope everybody has a great weekend. You guys send positive vibes for my son because he's only been doing jiu-jitsu for 2 months and he's going to a competition and he's a little worried about it. He's like, what if I get beat up? And I'm like, I'll save you. I'll run in. I'm going to have to wear me what they call a gi too. That way if my son starts getting beat up, I'm going to run out there and I'm going to start kicking people. I'm just kidding. But anyways, you guys, I just want to bring a baby. Well, hit that thumbs up button if you guys don't mind. That is a easy way, a free way to support this channel. If you enjoy the conversation in this video, or if you've ever watched a video of mine that you had a good time in it, you enjoy the conversation, hit that thumbs up button for me because YouTube does not like to promote my content. But if you guys hit the thumbs up button, if there's a lot of thumbs up, it is more inclined to promote me. I am trying desperately to hit 100,000 subscribers on here as well as on TikTok. I'm also at 30K over on Facebook, and I'm really trying to just grow my presence everywhere on every social media platform. So if you guys don't mind, follow me here, there, and everywhere. And I will see you guys Monday because I'm not going to be here tomorrow or Saturday, and I'll be coming home Sunday. So, yep, it'll be Monday. Bye, guys.